Oh, that's not what I want here. So welcome to Community Presbyterian Church's first edition of Zoom 101. I'm your host, Jason Santos. I have never done a Zoom workshop, and I actually had to sort of look at, through it myself yesterday and today. I was kind of prepping for this, saying, what do people need to know? Because I know that I look at it from a very different perspective than you all do, because I'm sort of behind the scenes, which is why if you look, you'll see that there's two of me. One is not my audio. This one over here that I'm waving to you at, that is just a video that is recording, that is showing. And when we play games, for example, sometimes with Denny and Pat, we have to have one of them disconnect their audio so that we don't get a feedback loop, because it's horrible. It kind of has one of those like reverberating mic sound effects. But back up here. Okay, well, let's get started. I kind of wanted to just sort of say, what is Zoom? Just as a sense, ask that sort of bigger question. We've all experienced video conferencing at this point in some way, shape, or form. It sort of started out in an era of Skype. That was one of the first main, it was there before that, but one of the first main companies that really captured that sense of video conferencing in a wider platform sense. Apple incorporated it then into their operating system for their phones, and it was called FaceTime. And that improved upon the technology dramatically. And then you started to have these larger platforms. And I remember when Zoom first came out, and then Microsoft had one, they were horrible. I mean, they were, you want to talk about glitchiness, it was glitchiness to the nth degree. And it really only is in the past few years that Zoom actually has sort of stepped up their game, and businesses started using them more often, in particular with remote jobs and telecommunications. And that was before even COVID. But what it is it really is just a video conferencing platform. Get a drink here. And by that, I mean, this is if we're having a conference or a classroom or some sort of teaching. And it's different from live streaming, which you'll see sometimes, for example, churches will record a video and they'll put it up on YouTube, and they've edited it and they put captions here and there, and they've made it a very professional looking, or sometimes not professional looking, but they record it, then they upload it, and then you watch it. Now, the other option of that is a live broadcast, which is often what Facebook does, live stream does. And in that way, in both of those ways, there's no interactivity. So if you're watching, you're just a spectator. If you're watching it live, you're getting it probably live or a few seconds behind, but you're not, and you can often use a text sort of chat format that will send texts out that, and you may be able to communicate that way. But Zoom is unique in terms of telecommunications because it is live, interactive. You can have hundreds of people all on the same call, and somehow it'll connect us all together so that we can all hear whoever the speaker is and who's not. So it ultimately is just a way to communicate using video and audio. And then they've added, really over the last years, lots of great features. And if you feel like you don't really know what you're doing with Zoom, that's okay, because even since a year ago, I was still in the national office and we used Zoom, we use just basic features of it. And the things that they've added and improved upon over the last year really have been phenomenal, and have really caused me to have to say, hey, do I even know how to use this? And I'm constantly saying, I get these updates, newsletters, what's changed? For a while, they were requiring passwords. Now they don't if there's a waiting room and that sort of thing. So, okay, before we get into getting started and obviously you're already on, any questions? None? Hearing none. Okay, so getting started with Zoom. You are on it, and that's good. And that's the reason I was sort of asking, like, how do you actually, connect? There are two ways. You can use what's called a browser-based online format, meaning oftentimes you'll click a link and it goes to, if you're on Apple, it's probably Safari. If you're on a PC, it's probably Chrome or Firefox. Those are called internet browsers. And those are the software application or the software program that you use on your device, whether it be a computer or handheld, to enter into the internet. And Zoom has a platform that operates on the web for that. So you can use Zoom as a one-time user, or even regularly, and you can only connect to Zoom through online. So there's no apps on your phone, there's no apps on your computer, there's no software downloaded. It just has a cookie somewhere with your preferences to log on, and you use the online medium. So just out of curiosity, how many of you are using an online medium? Does anyone know for certain you're just going through the browser? Or you don't know? How many of you have no idea?
I have no idea.
No idea.
Well, here the best way to tell is if you want to get onto Zoom, if you go to your internet browser and you type in zoom.us or zoom. whatever you type in, then you're using an internet browser. If you go to an app, so for example, here, this is a perfect example of why I have it lined up like this. Let me see. So this is my phone, and you can look on this camera right here. If I go to my computer, oh, this isn't facing me. Hold on a second. If I go to my computer, can you see that? Can you see Louis when he was a puppy? Isn't that cute he was?
See a black screen.
You can't see anything?
It's your name.
Oh no, you know what? Here's interesting. That's interesting. Let's do this. Because it doesn't have. Let me do this reverse. No, I got it. That's my bad. I should have done it reversed like this. So here's my phone. If I want to go to Zoom and I want to launch Zoom on my phone, I'm not going to this is my internet. So I hit that goes to the internet, but I don't want to do that. I go to the Zoom app, and it looks like that. And so when I hit that, it launches what now is already going on, the Zoom. You can see there's everyone bouncing around. There's like a mirror effect.
Not a Zoom app.
So it's important to determine whether or not you're using a Zoom app, meaning you have downloaded some sort of software package onto your computer, or whether you are just connecting online. Now, the reason I say that is because some of the features which you're able to do are look differently, or sometimes not even there if you're using just the online-based program.
So I'm using an online-based program.
If you have a home page on your computer or iPad, or phone or some sort of handheld device, hit that home button and just see if you can find an app that looked like that. Your camera will black out, but I want you to know what you're using.
Okay.
I don't
We're online. Okay.
But if you're watching this and it's the same software program you use to surf the internet or to send, then you're on a browser.
And what my browser is Chrome.
Right.
So yeah, if it says Chrome and you're looking at it and you have the Chrome operation up top, that means you're using a browser base.
Okay.
Using an app.
And the only reason, and if you're on a computer, chances are you might be on a browser base. If you're on a handheld device, chances are you might be using an app. But if you're on a handheld device, I would highly recommend going to the App Store or to Google Play or whatever. I'm not sure what the store, iPlay or iSomething on Android. But go and download the Zoom app. In my opinion, I think things run smoother. You have options. It's easier to navigate. Sometimes when you're on a web-based browser, if you accidentally hit back, or if you're on an iPad and you swipe this way or that way, and then it sends you back to the login page, an app just will help you. And sometimes, and if you're on a computer, it's a different type of a download. And if you're on a computer and you need help, that might be a different session that I can just do with you individually. But generally, if you're on a handheld device, a laptop, or like an iPad or some sort of tablet or a phone, there's an app that will allow you to use Zoom, and it'll be a much better interface. Now, granted, you're not going to be able to do that right now. So, but if you download that, again, you can come back to me anytime. We can sort this out because we can do a one-on-one session. So, okay. So 2 ways to get online, browser-wise, and an app-based software application. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
If you, I don't know if I'm like everybody else, but I just look at what the web address is and click in that way. But it seems like at some time we downloaded the Zoom app. I have it on my phone.
Yes.
So my question is, if you wanted to get on, you can, you have to know that ID number if you use the Zoom app.
You don't.
Okay.
You don't. Actually, if you click the link because I don't put passwords on my stuff. Now, some stuff it might be there and some stuff, and actually that you bring that up, that's actually my next point. Once you, even regardless of what platform you're on, there are two ways to connect. And what you're talking about is, do you click the link?
Yes.
Which is on the website, which is in the email, I could text you, which you could receive, in a variety of different ways. And that's a link. And usually, even if there's a password, if the person has sent the link correctly, it should contain the link or password information in the link. And if you have the app on your phone or tablet, when you hit that link, it should give you, unless you've set it to default this way, an option to say, would you like to open this in the Zoom app? And then you would hit open or yes, or whatever it might be. And then that will channel that link through the app, because your phone or device should be able to register whether or not you have the app on the phone. Most programs are sent to check that. So, but that's if you're following a link. The other way, which I'm sure many of us have done, and I've done many times myself, is when you have to sometimes, and that's why I hate putting links on like printed material, because if you have to go through and type, J, K, capital P, R, and then it doesn't work, and you join a Zoom meeting you're not supposed to be in or something, and you're like, hey, what am I? No, but that's why generally I try to put those links out there. But you can, so if you go to zoom.us on a browser, or even on the app, you can enter it in. If you actually type it in, you can get to it that way. And then it may prompt you, depending again how it was shared with you, whether or not that password is needed. And usually it's not, but these days people are password protecting a lot of things. So you may have your family like, oh, we have to password protect. I don't password protect it, because we're a small enough crowd that if someone starts to be crazy, I can control it pretty quickly. But I do know there are lots of churches, and I have friends whose churches where people have popped up and exposed themselves or started shouting things that were inappropriate during a church service. So I just don't think most people care about our little service. So it's not like they're disrupting much. We'd all be shocked, but we'd get over it in a few minutes without permanent scars. So there are two ways. Again, links, and that's typically the way you're all going to connect to the stuff that we do, is I'm sending you links. If you connect directly, that requires you to do something, and that obviously could contain more user error. If you've ever tried to type in one of those things, they're almost impossible unless someone's reading them directly to you. And then once you do that, it'll launch you either into, and I have it set up, the reason we don't have passwords is because I don't want you to have to remember a password, find the password, set up the password. I want you to be able to just click and get on. But what I've set it up to do is to stick you in a waiting room. So when you go on and it says you're in the waiting room, you're waiting. And oftentimes, even sometimes I've started the broadcast, I'm just not letting you in. And what I'm doing at that point is, I know most of you. So I'm usually scrolling through the participant list saying, okay, I know these people. And occasionally there may be one that I don't. But in general, it's not like something strange. And I can kind of see who's there. And then I can either admit all, or I can just admit, you individually as the thing goes on. But the reason you go into that waiting room is because I've set it up so that that's where you land. And the last thing I want to say, just in terms of getting started, is the layout for every device you use is going to be a little different. And I hate to say it, like even through the same, like Apple iPad and Apple phone don't look exactly the same. And they don't have all the same features. And if you use your computer, you're going to have a few different features. Again, if you use an online browser or an app, you're going to have some feature differences and where they're laid out and how they're laid out. But in general, what we're going to go over next are the basic things that you need to navigate any of them. And it just be maybe the case if you are writing anything down, to think, okay, well, if I get on a new device, or I switch to my computer and I'm normally using my iPad, I need to identify where, you know, the mute button is, where the video button is, where this or that is. Okay, so that's it for just getting started. Is there anything that you have questions about?
What is
No.
the fast
What?
way to do this?
What'd you say?
The quick,
You
Are
broke
you
up. What
muted?
is the what way
Burton,
what is the quickest way to use Zoom?
to get on and get going?
Right.
I think handheld devices actually handle it better. There's less going on. And in my opinion, I would, depending on what device you're using, I would close all others. When I typically use Zoom, I close all applications other ones that I'm using. Because sometimes those things are still refreshing in the background, which means they're pulling, you know, your device's energy or memory in order to run those things. So if you just shut all those things down that you don't need, and then it slowly, and I usually check the internet. Sometimes in the past I've forgotten, but you know, sometimes if I don't know how, you know, how your routers are set up at home, but sometimes, you know, you're not getting good internet in a certain part of the room. So you want to be in some place that's, you know, relative, you know, all those things matter in terms of, you know, I can only even if I'm broadcasting great, if you're downloading poorly, it'll be sketchy on its own because, you know, everyone's connecting at their own rate at their own space. But typically, if you follow a link on a handheld device on an iPad, that should get you on in 15 seconds. And sometimes, depending on the connection, you may have to wait for video or audio to establish itself. But by and large, you should be able to get on in about 30 seconds. So if it's taking you like 5 minutes, we should talk. Those jokes are only funny to me because I'm an Xer and I just barely know this stuff myself.
Jason, I have an application question or
Go for it.
another. So every week you print out and give us the web addresses, and then we have the Zoom app. So you're saying if you use your handheld device, you get in faster, but if I'm using my Zoom app, I don't have the particular access code, correct? Or
You
how do
shouldn't need
so I-
one.
Okay, so for example, tonight, if I wanted to use my phone, I'd push on that app. Then I think it asks you for the what meeting. So let me just try that. So it says join a meeting. Then it says meeting ID, iPhone join. So I still need that meeting ID.
Typically, so maybe let's do this. Let's just as a point of exercise of getting on. Does everyone know how to log out? There should be a button that says end somewhere, and sometimes you have to tap your screen. Why don't you go ahead and end, and then go to either your email that you connected with or the web page that should already be up, and then you'll be able to recognize, am I doing this through web? And then it'll reconnect you.
So am I gonna do sign
You're,
in?
well, you're already signed in with,
You
Okay,
can just,
so
Perry, just hit the end button and it'll say leave meeting.
feedback, but if you want to switch to sign into, you gotta go to.
mine, well, Jason, I know I entered by the web prompt, the web thing on the,
And did it ask you, and then what did it ask you to do?
well, okay. I've got two devices, my iPad where I'm talking to you on now, and I'm holding my phone. And I imagine my iPad has the same Zoom link. I haven't looked. But so to leave, and then, well, when I push on the link, it brings me into the Zoom app, and then you just join. Assume that it's already, the ID is already typed in. Is that correct?
Yes, and that's what I want you to see is that when you get in, typically,
Jim?
so Pat, when you came in, what did it say to you? Did you hit the link and then it just threw you in, right?
No, I hit the link. Yeah, because I would have had to put in an ID if I'd gone through the other.
But you didn't have to put in any password, right?
No.
So and this is the way you can come in, and honestly, if you ever get on, you can't hear yourself, you can't see yourself, there's a problem. The very first thing, you just get back out. Just go out, come back in. The only way that you wouldn't be able to get back in is if I booted you out and it kept you. But you should be able to get back out and get back in. And theoretically, you should just be able to hit one button, and at most it'll say, it will come up with a prompt that says connect audio, because it's giving you an option to connect via the actual, internet process, by a dial-in or cancel. And if
You're
if you
You're
ever
not
have,
getting this because it's going through my hearing aids.
Oh,
Here, I'll give it to
no,
you.
there. I'm gonna get in right here.
John's hogging all the sound.
See, join
John,
with
that's what was so
video.
mean. Not letting Shelby hear like that.
Connecting.
Jason,
Yeah,
I'm looking on my phone, and when I push the
It's gotta let
ID,
me in.
there's a prompter on the bottom. There's a list of them.
show
It
me.
says,
Hold it up to the camera on the
No.
iPad.
I don't know if you can see, but on the bottom, it's all live.
Connected now. Hold on.
Feedback.
Hold
Too
on.
much feedback.
How do you mute?
How do you?
So here we go.
There.
So you can never
Push
have
the
more
bottom.
than-
I'm muted.
Are you on? Let me see this mute here. How's that? There, I got it. So you can never have more than 2 connections using the same. You can do as many video as you want in the same room, but what will happen is when you have that prompt to say, how do you want to join by audio? It's like dial in, internet connection or cancel. On the second device, you always want to hit the cancel, because otherwise you're going to get that same feedback loop. Even though it's muted, it doesn't make a difference. For some reason, I don't know why, but you always have to have one, not just muted, but the audio completely off, so the audio is not functioning. So like when Denny and Pat, we all play games, Denny, I think, doesn't get to have his on.
Right, I turned mine off.
Yeah, but he's louder.
Well, that's by nature. No.
Now you're trying to. Okay, so does that make sense, Nora?
Well, yeah, what I was trying to explain, and I tried to hold my phone up and it's just a white thing. But on my phone, when I push that Zoom icon, then I push where it says ID, it looks like on the bottom of it, it gives you a choice of Sunday worship, session meeting, Bible study. So there's a series of options. So for example, now we don't have today's on here, but for on Sunday, I could push Sunday worship and would automatically go into that Sunday. And then
You would
concurrent
go
with that
into
on
a
my
Zoom-
iPad, I could do the same thing without going through panicking and trying to find that address, going through the email you send every week.
Yeah. Honestly, the best thing that you can always do is go to the website, because every week before I send the email out, I go to the website and take those links, and if there's any new links, I add those, and I take the ones out that are not being used that week. And so you can always, and it's always I don't really post a lot. I mean, occasionally there might be another post up there and you have to scroll down to one, but that's like kind of like a blog post. And I put the most recent link, and really all you should have to do is just hit that link and then agree to anything your device tells you, because at that point you're in where you should be.
Did today.
Okay. The best thing
Okay.
is to go. Okay. All right.
All right. Let's go to some basics, and this is important on your device just for you to recognize where they are, because it'll help you navigate. And the first thing is the audio. And like I said, when you log on, if you're on the second device, you want to hit cancel on the audio. But sometimes, and typically I have it set up that when you join the group, you should come in muted. But on occasion, I don't know, sometimes Zoom is glitchy. Sometimes people come in unmuted, or maybe they unmute themselves right away. But first thing I want to do, and it may seem basic, but everyone locate the mute button and mute yourself.
I would say, just a minute.
You can see who's muted by the little mic that's got the red line through it. Do you see that? Does everyone see? Well, here I should. And if you don't have the audio on, you don't even have the capacity, I think, to mute, because it just says, like it does on mine here at the bottom, it says join. Oh, whoa, there we go. Oh, it's doing that thing. Never mind. Oh, here it goes. You can see on the bottom, it says join audio, a little symbol there. And so I'm not even broadcasting my voice through this. You're only hearing it through my iPad. Okay, so right now, everyone but Denny and my other and Pat, did you just? I think you were muted. Okay, everyone unmute. So mute and unmute is probably the most important thing that you need to know. And in general, I'll come back to it when I'm going to do a little Zoom practices / etiquette.
That's good.
But in general, if you have background noise happening, and that could be a dishwasher, it could be the flapping of a window with the wind coming in, it could be a dog or a cat, usually is what it is, running water. Amazingly, computer mics pick up a lot of stuff. And what it does is it just sends it and it reverberates. And so sometimes those things become, so just be aware when you sit down to Zoom, like what is in that background. And it, you know, it's whenever I'm on Zoom, regardless of what I'm usually, I know a few weeks ago, I muted myself during the benediction. Not even sure why that happened, but you want to be just aware. Is my audio on? Is it not on? And so knowing where that mute button is really one of the most important things you could possibly do. And sometimes I'll mute you yourself. Sometimes I'll ask you to unmute, but knowing where that is on the device that you're using is key. The second thing I want to point out is that you have the capacity to turn your video on and off, as many of you know, because sometimes you leave it off.
No.
And we'll get into practices on what reason you would have to turn it on or off. But let's just practice that now, stopping and starting our videos.
Where is the video on
See the line?
along with the regular?
It should be near the mute button. So sometimes you got to tap your screen
Oh,
and then
stop.
the menu pops up.
Got it.
All right. Now everyone start your video again. I noticed everyone was much faster at the video than the mute because they're more aware of what their video presence on the, actually it's immediate feedback. Okay, good. So audio, video, you know how to mute and unmute. Audio, let's try audio off. And that is, and I'll show you on my device because then that's actually more similar to what you're looking at. If I were, well, I guess I can't with my, but there should be on a menu somewhere. If you tap your screen, you should see more. And or sometimes it's represented by 3 little dots. Do you
Or
all see
does it
that?
In red, it says disconnect audio. Is that it?
Yes. What we're going to do is we're all going to practice disconnecting our audio. And then once you have realized you've disconnected your audio, I want you to say something really mean to me and then reconnect it so you know that it works.
I haven't found mine.
You can't find it?
Nope.
What device are you on?
I'm on my laptop.
You're on a laptop computer?
Yes.
So it's sometimes, and I don't know, without seeing your screen, sometimes you have to, if you scroll up or down, the menu thing is there. And sometimes it has 3 little dots or it says more. And typically you're going to have that all grouped together in the, like on my phone here and you know, and on computers, usually, you know, like there's audio, there's audio, video, share screen, participants. And this is, you know, and so somewhere probably in a similar place to where your mute and audio buttons were. Something that says more. No? How many of you do not have that at all?
Mine doesn't have it either.
You don't have anything that says more.
No.
That's weird.
No.
Does this-
And none of you do.
3 dots.
I do.
You do.
I do.
The people who do are you using handheld devices?
Yeah.
Yes,
iPads or
No.
phones?
iPad.
So it's a mix.
iPhone.
Just have to right there to.
I wish I could see. I see Mary. I don't know if I can
Wait much longer, it's gonna go away.
If you keep it right
make host allow to record.
there.
What is view? I see a thing that says view. Would that be it?
No,
that's-
so we're gonna get to that. The view. Well, let's come back to it.
Okay.
Let me make a little note because that is gonna make So, but just so for those of you who do see that disconnect audio, disconnect your audio and then hit the button that says reconnect and then notice the options it gives you. So go ahead and do that now. Let me just see here.
Stop video.
Miriam, let's mute, chat, spotlight.
Did you ever get back on?
What was I supposed to stop?
That unmuting is what he asked you to
Get
do.
on your phone.
He asked you to unmute and you've done that.
I thought he said to push the stop video and then.
Yeah, try to stop the video. Do you see where that is, Perry?
No,
Yeah, we do,
where?
right here.
It should say
Go ahead.
disconnect
Stop
audio.
video.
You feel.
Let's stop video? Is that what we're supposed to do?
And then turn
No,
it
no,
back.
no, stop video, disconnect audio, just the sound. And if all else fails, you can always go out and come back in.
Start video.
Jason, it seems like after you disconnect the audio, you go through a two-step process coming back. It goes to, there's a low, it says connect audio, and then it brings you back into that screen or that prompt that says internet. Connect by
Yes,
internet.
the
That's
one
what I-
that gives you the option of how you connect via audio.
Yeah,
It kind of
okay.
brings you back to what it would be if you did it from the very beginning.
Yes.
I agree.
And that the only reason that's important is if you're ever, and I know that, you know, there are a number of folks who are connecting in couples. If you're ever like, you know what, I want to sit on the rocking chair over here, you can sit over on the sofa.
I don't know why.
You know,
can.
or you've been hunting and you stink and I don't want you to sit next to me. Then you go sit over there and look at your iPad and I'll sit over here. And it's when that happens, it's very important that only one of you has that audio and the other one has that disconnect. So, but you are all connected now. Let's go on. Now, the next thing is speaker versus it's called view, and the two options are gallery, which is like Brady Bunch, or speaker. Let me see if I can show you these here. Oops.
Use that one to pop it. There.
So, wait, one of you has sound up. Let me see.
So it's like
This
Piggly
one
Wiggly.
here.
I can hear you.
There. It was someone who came on with just iPhone. But so find where it says view, or sometimes if it's an iPad or an iPhone, it's just sort of over on the left. But it'll say switch to active speaker, which should just have me, or it says gallery, switch to gallery view, which puts everybody on your screen. Now, if you're using a phone, it may not do that. And I was going to show you on a phone, you actually go back. Here's like the view of the gallery. And then you can, on a phone, where you have to swipe back and forth to see everybody.
No, it doesn't.
See what I'm saying? But on your screen, you should be able, and you can see, I don't know if you have it on gallery view, you could probably actually see my phone's view. This is what I see when I preach on a sermon. I see a whole bunch of people there like that. There. I don't know if you can see the other one right there, the one with the
Here we
fingers.
go. Go back.
So, but what you're doing is switching back and forth between a gallery view, meaning Brady Bunch, and speaker view. And I'll take this time at this moment just to say, like, I think, you hear a lot of people talk about Zoom fatigue these days, how exhausting it is to be on Zoom. And you're probably not on Zoom as much as like folks who are, like in an office somewhere and have to do a lot of meetings. But I think one of the biggest reasons that people are fatigued when they use Zoom is they don't use it conscientiously. And I think that there are times, like, for example, to take our services, and you can use it how you want, but if your camera is off and no one can see you, you can walk around the room, and then you can, it doesn't make a difference, what you're doing or eating, because no one can hear you or see you. And at that point, you're just listening. Now, that has some virtues to it, save for the fact that you're often doing something else as well. And so you're actually in a place where you're kind of doing multiple things at once. The other option is when you have it on gallery view and you can see everybody. Now, the interesting thing about gallery view is this is such an artificial way of communication, because never in the world is my head as big as it is when you're on speaker view right in your face, or never are you in a place where you can actually observe, like you're a security camera guard sort of person, all these different settings at the very same time. So I can scan through and be like, okay, Al just pushed up his camera. Jim's making some snide comment to Glenda.
Yeah.
You know, and I can go through and I can go down the list, you know, and see all your, and I think, and this is again your choice because just the way you're watching it. But for example, if you're listening to the sermon or any sort of speaker or someone speaking or a reader, if you're looking at everybody listening, your brain actually is fighting between your audio cortex and your visual cortex, because there's dissonance between them. Because you're listening to something that supposedly has content, but your eyes are taking in not just even one form of stimulus, but like a dozen or more, you know, 9 to a dozen or 6, you know, multiple places. And your brain is not processing those at the same time. Neurologically speaking, there's a block, and what it's doing is this. And so you're going back and forth. And so as a consequence, you're neither looking at people really fully or hearing what is actually being said or read or spoken. And so my suggestion would be, if there is a speaker, to have the speaker view on. And so knowing where that speaker view and that gallery view is important. But if I was doing the confession or the affirmation of faith through the Apostles' Creed, or if we're taking communion, that's why I ask you to turn the camera off and you can turn it on your gallery so you can see everybody. In other words, you have to decide as the viewer, do I want to watch everybody in this moment because it's important for me to feel like a part of a larger community? Do I want to watch just the speaker so that I can see the person who's speaking and I'm not having to have multiple things go on in my brain, inhibiting actually the formation and learning that's happening? Or is having my camera off in that moment the best thing? And we'll get into etiquette later. Like if you're eating or walking around in your PJs or without a shirt, you should probably have your camera off. But if you're dressed and you're not eating and you're wanting to fully be engaged in what's happening, then sometimes having that camera on and holding you in an accountable way to the group that's gathering. And again, this is all about the intentionality of how we gather. The reason that early on I decided not to do live streaming, Facebook streaming, that sort of thing, or video recording, is because I would rather have the bumbling mistakes that I make each week be heard and seen and interacted and exchanged and hear your voices and see you moving than just record to something that is a screen or a camera, because that's not a live interaction. And I do believe part of that communal nature that we experience each week happens because we are doing it in an interactive format. But how you view makes a significant difference. So you have you want to make sure you're muted, obviously, if you're just, but in general, you have to decide whether you want your video on or off. You have to decide whether you're watching gallery view or speaker view. And that may mean you're curating your Zoom experience as it's happening as well. But if you don't know where that switch to active speaker button is, or switch to gallery speaker button is, then you won't be able to actually switch back and forth.
Well, that's
Okay. What's that?
Well, up in my right-hand corner, is where I click for gallery. But when we first did that, we had the gallery on the whole, taking it like the Brady Bunch on the whole page, on the whole screen. And now we've got just 6 people up in the corner and you big in the middle. So
Yes.
What is that?
So that's speaker view. And what typically happens, and if you, let me see how I can, if you can see this is kind of speaker view here. I don't know if I can even do it on my phone because no, I can't. I can show you on, can you see the video feed of my phone where there's a whole bunch of you? If you're on, everyone switch your camera to gallery view and find the screen that says Jason Santos and has like everybody on it.
You wanted to go back up
No.
there.
Oop, there it goes.
There's where we gotta go.
Did anyone see that?
Okay,
We
we
got it.
finally found it.
If you can see where my finger is pointing, can you, everyone can see that?
Covered it up.
No.
So to go to gallery view. And look at the screen that has all those different faces in it.
Okay.
Do you see it?
Yes.
Everyone can see it. If you see it, raise your hands. I'll just get a visual Okay. So you can see this is my iPad screen that I'm looking at. Let me turn it this way here. And so what I'm talking about is if I switch to speaker view, it's going to go to me, which I guess is going to cycle through. Hold on a second. Now but what I want you to see, can you see that? Where am I at here? Here, you see that, how it's down on the bottom? And what that does is I can close that so that I just get it in the corner, or I can expand it. And again, this is on an iPad. It's going to be different with everyone's format. But that means on a speaker view, I can still get a few people who are connected, and I can actually scroll through that. And I'd recommend, again, if you want to really listen and you want to do speaker view, just do speaker view and don't try to look at anyone else. Just in terms of how we learn educationally and formationally, that sense of focus and engagement happens when you're engaging with one person in that direct way, as opposed to trying to, again, look at everyone, what's all going on. And again, so now's the time. So and feel free, we can't see what you're switching back and forth to. So there's no knowledge of what, when you're messing with it, trying to go back and forth and find what view. But that's just knowing that there's an active speaker and a gallery speaker is an important part of using Zoom. Okay. Somewhere, and for those of you who are having trouble finding that more button, there's something that's called rename, and I can actually technically rename you all, but on all of them, you should be able to hit that more button, and again, without seeing yours directly, it's hard to say, but there is a way to rename yourself. So if you, like, for Lynn Lampert was using Terry someone's, and every time he got on there, it would say Terry underneath, and he had to go on and rename. So like I can go on here and let's see, I'm going to rename Al. I can go over here and I can rename. I get rename. What should we rename Al?
Judge.
The judge. I actually added an extra D and it said the judged. So now, see, you can see under Al's name, it says the judge. So you have the capacity in your Zoom interface, or you should, to jump in there and change your name. So let's just, for the sake of everyone, try to get in there. Jim, if you're raising your hand, you can unmute, since we all know how to unmute now. Not that you didn't know how, I'm just kidding.
We don't have that rename feature on ours.
At all, anywhere.
We don't see it.
Are you on a browser?
On an iPad.
I'm on
iPhone.
If you're on a handheld device, you will definitely have that option.
We
don't have
and I can't. What browser are you using?
Google.
Let me.
Get rid of me. Chat was down there.
Who else is having this problem? They can't see the rename.
Yeah.
And are you on
Nora.
computers?
I'm on a laptop.
Laptop.
iPhone.
And on an
iPad.
iPhone, you don't see the rename?
No.
Does anyone see the rename? Maybe I have it turned off.
I saw it.
We had it and then we lost
Oh
it.
yeah, Al renamed himself.
We had it and then we lost it. So
And again, once you find that rename, that's usually in the same spot that all the other things happen to. I think sometimes, actually, you know what? You on a computer, right click over your name, over your picture. Sometimes if I recall that, sometimes that works. Does that work?
That's how I did it.
There it is.
There it is.
Yay, that's what it is. That's a right click. I forgot the right click.
The old right click.
This is my name and add profile picture.
Oh, wow.
Jason,
Don't
I'm
do
on
any of
the,
the other features. Just rename yourself. If you're able to rename yourself, put your nickname up there, or I will put one for you.
Question, I can't find the rename feature. When I push the more on my iPad, it just says chat, meetings, minimize. I don't see the rename option on my iPad.
Does it say raise hand as well?
It
Yes.
says raise hand, yes.
Then maybe hold your finger on your actual, I'm not, again, this is the hard part about doing it this way, is that I can't see we're probably all on very different interfaces and different operating systems. And so,
Just push the raise hand.
I want to
try that. Go over that. That's one of the things we're going to do here in a second. So yeah, so everyone go onto your more if you have the capacity. And you can put so there's raising hands, which usually is something that will stay up there permanently until I say, and I can hit a button that says lower all hands. As you can see, they all disappeared. So in a couple weeks, when we do our congregational meeting on Zoom and we ask you to vote, we're going to ask you either to raise your hand if you don't know how, but you all will be among the in crowd who knows how to raise your hand virtually. So you'll be like, okay, I can go here more and I'm going to raise my hand, and then you can, so try that. And then look, there should also be under your more, there should also be gestures that show hand clapping. If you can see mine, I now have hand clapping. I have thumbs up. I can do a heart. I can vote yes with a check mark. I can vote no with that. And so that gives me this little set of symbols that then appear to me
I'm right.
on one that I'm voting those, but also if you can.
So I'm not on there, just on the screen.
If you look, if you're in gallery view, oops, and you can see, oh, here I can do this. Oh, that's wrong. Okay, here. I get, this is what, when I pop it up on my menu, this is what I get.
I have it on my iPad. Cancel.
So,
Take my
so
hand off.
what's that?
Did you, my hand's still up there.
Lower hand? I'll lower all hands so you can
Thank you.
re-lower them.
Thank you.
And the thumbs up and things typically, typically they'll last. I'm not sure exactly even sure how long, but typically they don't last forever. I can even do a party symbol, like, see, I don't know what that is. It's like a
Yeah.
ice cream cone filled with
Okay,
ribbons.
I never did find more, so I can't do that. But I did.
So you didn't find more at all?
But I got my name
Did you
changed.
try right clicking on your mouse?
Clicking where?
Just on the center screen, or maybe on your picture.
Chair.
If you right click,
Then you go back and take that off.
it should pull up a menu, if I recall, now that I'm thinking about it.
Okay, I got, oh, I
Good
did. Finally got that.
What does it say?
I click on it again, it'll go away. There you go.
Yeah, just play around with it. Throw some symbols up.
Didn't go away. Wants the thumbs up.
If there's one that flips me the bird, though, don't do that.
Then make that go away. What do you-
Yes, make it go away.
What does pen mean? That's one of them.
Which one?
Pen is one of my choices.
What are you doing?
Right.
I don't know, to be honest with you, what pin means.
There's high-
Don't hit it though.
Okay, I'm not going to.
So, usually you have this section that shows you all of those, and whether you might, if it's on again on your computer, you might have to right click it to get it to appear that have that right menu item clicked. So does anyone right now, is anyone not able to do that?
Me.
I'm not.
Okay, so just out of curiosity, are you using Apples or PCs?
PCs. Oh,
PCs,
laptop.
laptop, but like a Dell or just Microsoft based operating system?
Yeah, Microsoft.
Me too.
I will find out for the Walkers and Mary that what,
I did get my name changed, but I
oh,
can't
good.
more of the symbols.
Well, and your more may be embedded in that right click. And again, not being with you, it's hard to tell, but there is a way. And if you want to do this at some point, any of you, we can schedule a one-on-one session where I can actually see your screen and then help you figure that out. But I can't, but that's difficult to do with everybody. So, okay. So you've all done some gestures. And now we're going to try to chat. And in the same way you clicked, usually you're raising, yes. Go ahead, Joni.
So I could get a thumbs up and I could get a clap, but I never got a raised hand and I'm on a laptop.
So when you right click, what are your options?
When I right click, I could rename and I can mute my audio, stop video. That's about it.
And then there's no other drop-down menus or menus in your interface that show, like if you hover over it, it drops down and gives you something?
No, and I could go to the bottom there where, you know, it shows the participants and all that. And if I click on reactions, that's where I just get the thumbs up or the clap.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Again, are you on a PC?
Yeah,
Microsoft
I'm on a
based
laptop.
laptop, but one it's not an Apple.
It's a HP.
Okay, so I'll have to experience, we'll have to have Zoom 102 where we come back and revisit some of these questions. Because again, I can probably get on the church computer and see if we can sort that out. But somewhere, theoretically, everyone is supposed to have these options in order to participate because they're turned on for everyone. So when you log on, this is maybe a rationale. I think even on computers and laptops, you can actually download the Zoom software application to go on your actual computer or to operate within that. And again, I could explain that to you individually, but depending on your operating system and how it downloads, typically you would go to Zoom and then there's an option to download the software, and depending on what type of operating system you use, it'll specify, and you download and then you install that, and then that's there, and then you would go through that. So hold on to that thought, but because then you won't be able to chat. So how many of you have seen somewhere in that same menu the thing that says chat?
See it.
So now chat's a great feature, and chat would be a great feature if we actually used it. If you were like, hey, before the service started, it's 10 minutes before you're sitting down, you maybe launch it just to make sure you can get connected. And if there's a prayer request, and this would be, if there's something that you wanted to say or a prayer request or an announcement you wanted to add, theoretically, I could go on there and I could hit the chat button and it would launch the chat. But go ahead and do that. And if you're able and you can find where it says chat, hit the chat. And then what it'll do is it'll pop up a separate menu. And I'll show you on my phone, if you still have it on gallery view, you should be able to,
Somebody else, but then you type in your message.
Yeah.
and then you can see here how mine just pops up like that. And what I want you to notice about that is there, Joni said hello to everyone. And then I can type back at the bottom, hi, and I hit that and it says hi to everyone. But down here at the bottom, and if you're looking again on gallery view on my phone view, it says send to, and usually it says everyone, and you can actually click that, and then you get a list of everyone in the Zoom meeting that you can send a private message to. So if I wanted to send, Janice a message that was like, can you believe what Jim just said? I could do that. And
Yeah,
Jim would be none the wiser. Now I record all the chat sessions, so just in case there's something to put up there. So, but you theoretically could send a specific person a message. So if you're able to on your chat, go ahead and type hi or hello or whatever you want to say, and then hit enter and have that go. And then I want you to send just me so I can see that you've done it. Where it says send to, hit just me and send just me a private message.
Jason, go to Jason.
Oh, you've got to.
Nice job, Pat. She's the winner.
Are we trying to do this to everyone or just to you, Jason?
Both. First, you need to try to do it to everyone.
Okay, then just type it right in.
Janice sent one directly to me. Steve sent one directly. I'm going to call you. I'm going to praise you. Nice work. Nice job, Paul.
How do I send it?
Look at that. Carlos took some time to type out a whole message. Now, in the advanced feature of Zoom, they have one of these that are Q&As too, which are kind of neat because then you can actually ask a whole bunch of questions and answers and they kind of catalog them for you. But this is how, and you want to make sure before you send a private message that it says to who you're sending it to, because otherwise you'll send it to everybody. But this is how chat works. And so sometimes when you go into Zoom experiences or lectures or something, they'll say, hey, if you have a question, put it in the chat. And I was recently talking with someone just about the interactive nature of a sermon. And sometimes you can't ask questions. Like I'm a person who, you know, when I teach, I don't mind being interrupted. And if there's a question, we may get to a place where we may want to have more of a sermon teaching style format, where if you have a question, you could jump on that chat, you could type it in, and then it shows on my screen that a chat message has come up. I hit the chat, it pulls up the question, and I can answer it. So in other words, it saves the time of having to raise your hand, unmute, say what you're going to do, mute, and then me lowering your hand.
Hey, Jason, did you get our higher? Because we don't see, all we did was hit the enter button. Should we?
Yes, I saw your high.
Okay,
Okay.
I
it
did
was
not
just
see it
you.
just to me though. I only saw it to the crowd.
Okay,
well,
So where
after
it
I
says,
type it in, and it's just your name, how do I send it?
then same way you type, no, well, it says send to, and there should be a little drop down that says everyone or,
have
Right,
we done it, we typed in hi, then we hit the enter button.
and your name came up, and I typed in hi, how do I make it go to you?
there should be a little enter or a little like paper airplane looking thing or a little
Hit enter.
Hit enter button.
hit
on your-
enter.
Just the enter?
There it is, Perry. I got it
Okay,
directly to
so
me.
just hit enter. Okay, good.
Yes, it came directly to me. And Jim, yours came directly to me.
Okay, now I'm gonna do.
All right. So that is the chat feature. And that is the same way. And although it's enabled, obviously everyone's, you should somewhere, and this is a case where, you know, this sometimes, and maybe we should be doing these weekly, just so I was thinking about it. You don't really have a space to do this stuff. No, you know, you don't want to do it when you log on to the service. All of a sudden you're like raising your hands and throwing party symbols up at me. And I'm like, what's going on? So it's like not the best time to try to learn how to use Zoom, but using Zoom is something that you get familiar with it by doing it. So like I would get on and I would check, where's my mute button? Where's my video button? Where's my view button? If you know those three buttons, you enhance your Zoom experience every time you get on just by the virtue of those three buttons. 3 weeks from now or 2.5 weeks from now, when we have our congregational meetings, we're going to ask you to raise your hand. And again, practice it, you know, and honestly get on, you know, maybe what I'll start doing on Sunday is I'll launch the meeting and I'll just black out my screen. And so you could have 15 minutes before service where you can just fiddle around and practice your stuff and send me chats beforehand. Yeah, go Carla.
I just found my extra. It's under reactions. You know, the symbols for your heart and your party. It's
Yes,
under
yes.
reactions.
Oh,
What do you want? Are you on a computer?
I'm on an HP, and I know someone else has an HP.
Say we
I got
So
it.
where did you find it?
just put-
Where your screen is, where you're looking, and you can see the gallery above. Down below, if you bring your cursor and drag it to the bottom, it should bring up your mute, stop video, participants, chat, share screen, record, and reactions. And the reactions at the very end,
Yeah.
you can find it.
So for you with the I see you're shaking your head no.
Yes.
We got it.
You're seeing it now?
There, I just sent one.
Okay. So let me see. There's some thumbs up. Joni, you're still not getting it.
No, I just, under reactions, I'm just getting hand clapping and a thumbs up. That's it.
It's so odd.
I know.
Does it go away in a minute?
It should go away on its own,
Yeah,
if I'm
yeah.
not mistaken. There it goes. Joni, I'll have to come over and see what's going on. I don't know whether it might need. Are you using? You're using a browser, right?
I don't know.
Does it say so far? Does it say like Chrome or Firefox or
I think I use Chrome.
Chrome?
Yeah,
Let me
that's
do
right.
some research on that again. There's so many different interfaces; it's hard to track.
Hey,
Um,
Jason.
Companies never
Hey,
change, huh, Judge?
Hey, hey, Jason,
Yeah.
does everybody have the same version? And are there different, say, changes to the latest version? Because I know last week when I got off, it says there's an update available and I did the update. I don't know whether it enhanced it or not, but if not everybody's on the same version.
That's
Could
a
be
great
better.
point.
Mhm.
If you're not, and somewhere on again, now if you get on, now there's two updates. You could have your general computer updates, so you know that could affect things. Then you have your software updates, which means your internet browser. If you're using an internet browser, that may need updates and plugins that are usually adapted. But then and if you're using an internet browser, you shouldn't need an update beyond the internet browser because you're using it on the online platform. If you have it and you're using it as an application, it's important to keep that updated because honestly, Zoom changes, week to week. And so whenever you see, do you want to update this? Your answer should be absolutely yes. Okay, I want to, so somewhere there is and I have opened it up. So people, you do have the capacity to share your screen, and I want to show you just a few features. And somewhere you'll see share screen, and I can control how I set up a meeting, whether you're allowed to share that. But for example, I can go to photos and I can pick here wasn't a good example. One of the photos I used recently here, I can do this. So that was the last email I sent out for John the Baptist baptism. That's that. And on my, and I don't know, again, if you're looking at gallery view, let me turn this around so you can see what I'm looking at. Where is it out there? Give me a second okay. So it went back to me. Hold on. Got too many screens going on here. Okay, so if you can see on my again, if you're looking through gallery view, I know it might be small, but this is my laptop or my iPad. And if I go down here and I hit this little button, it gives me a whole little section that I can annotate stuff. So I can actually draw. So I can hit pen and I can hit the color. And I can actually draw on the screen, and you should be able to see that on your screen, right?
Yeah, I see it.
You do see that. So not only in the one screen you see where my finger is,
Rich,
you see me drawing it.
Oh, okay.
But on the other, now I would like, and I approved so that someone go to your more option or your right click and see if you have the ability to annotate as well. You should.
No.
Jason, if you go up to the top where it says you are viewing Jason Santos' screen, you go to the right where it says view options, because I have an HP.
Okay, so there you go.
Yeah.
I don't
So
have
anyone else see that?
Yep.
And see, you should have the capacity, because I turned it on, to be able to annotate something.
I have that.
Can anyone see? And you have go ahead, see if you can. Oh, there. So I see Joni. I see you put a blue dot. Keep going, Joni. Scribble. Give us a scribble. Everyone should have everyone should have the capacity in some way or form to annotate what my screen share. I see Pat's raising her hand.
I have a pencil.
I'll see you later, Perry. And Eve. So yeah, there you go. Jim Walker, I see you're making some sort of mark.
Nothing's going on though.
Yeah, I didn't see my box.
Okay, I have a pencil, and it's moving, but it's not doing anything.
It's not drawing.
Me too.
Now Paul's making hearts. Or Carla.
Yeah, it's me. Sorry, I changed my name.
No, that's good. But now this is your chance to try. So just get on there and again, without seeing your screen, it's kind of hard. But just you got to find where it says annotate or view, and then it should be something. If you see something that looks like a little pencil,
I'll do it.
Okay, I've got the pencil, but it's not doing anything. It's moving.
So hit the.
You gotta click on it.
Click on where it says pen.
Oh, I got it. Okay.
There you go. I see. There you go. You're putting dots.
Little dots.
And what you want to do is you want to click. If you're on a mouse, you click your mouse and then draw. There you go.
Okay.
See, it's so beautiful. We're all just doing this beautiful liturgical artwork.
Really entertaining, Linda, let me tell you.
And you're typing, so yeah, you can make some shapes.
Oh, and you can pick colors on format.
And I can take out the background and now make it a whiteboard.
Oh, neat.
So this is a great way, like if you're actually, and we can, sometimes I've done stuff using this in terms of like projects, but this is a way, like if you're like, now, I'm concerned about this area up here. All right. So then you can erase, you can undo, you can clear your stuff, and everyone can add their own piece of it. And then this is all recorded. You can select, I mean, and again, that's, and chances are we're not going to actually, I'm going to stop sharing that now. Chances are we're not going to actually ever need that. But the reality is I can do that. And there's also just a plain whiteboard that I can share to you with you on that allows you to, you know, that if I want, and we've done that in Bible study, when I've tried to draw or illustrate something, I've put that up there. But in that share screen, there's lots of things you can actually, so you can share files from your Dropbox, you can share photos from, when we play games, sometimes I preset photos and we can share those. You can, when I used to share the bulletin each week, I would basically enter in, there's one that says website URL, and I could enter in the website, and then I would just show, and you're seeing the screen of what I'm seeing. So that's kind of just some of the, and the last, those are some of the features that you just need to be and know where they are and where, just a little bit about. Most of the time, I'm never going to ask you to share a screen, unless you want to schedule. And again, we can do this. It should only take 15, 20 minutes or little sessions. But if you need or desire a personal Zoom session, let me know and we can get on. Because what allows that to happen is again, I can log. You can share your screen with me, and then I can verbally walk you through what you need to do. So, but finding that space where it says share screen, does anyone else have that share screen open?
Yeah.
You see that?
Mm-hmm.
Does someone try to share your screen?
Oh, you disabled it for me.
You disabled it.
Oh, that's interesting. It's not disabled, but I wonder if because I made this Zoom conference before I changed the settings, if the settings didn't apply. I never thought about that. Maybe that's why we're having some of these problems.
Jason, mine says only the host can share in this meeting.
Okay, well so I did turn it on, but I think because I scheduled this, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe because I scheduled it before, it's not allowing you to do it. So, we can do this again if you all want to do this again. The last thing I want to show you, because I'm just mindful of time, I don't want to keep you too long, but the last thing I want to show you is under more, there's something called that's fun to play with. And if you have it, you should be able to have it, but there's called virtual backgrounds. And what that does is you can see, it's better if there's light. Let me turn on.
I don't have it.
Do you have virtual backgrounds?
It's blank.
I tried it and I can't do it.
Doesn't work, huh?
Mine more.
That may, so that'll be, maybe
Like, I
that'll
can't
do
even
that.
get a gallery
You see
view.
mine? Oh, I'm disappearing?
See, there's more. Now I can go up and it shows me those little.
I got it.
Green.
Okay. So the last thing I want to talk about, and again, these are things, next time I'm going to leave those on. So if you want to toy around with this, here's the other thing is Zoom meetings are free for everybody. So you can go on, if you've downloaded, but you can go onto the Zoom platform without logging onto what we're doing, and you can hit launch a Zoom meeting, and then it'll usually give you a link. And again, I haven't done that for a while, but I know that you can go on there. Anyone can use Zoom for up to 20 people or up to a certain amount of people, and they limit the amount of time. So for a long time, a lot of people use Zoom just for a free platform, but they limit your time, they limit some of the options. But you should be able to get on and launch that and practice some of these things to see. But every time you sit down to a new device, locating that mute button, that video recording button or the video feed, and noting where your view is, in between gallery and speaker view are the most sort of three important things. The features that we've shown in the back, you don't really need to change your background. It's really not that big of a deal. A lot of people do, and to be quite frank, I think it's kind of annoying at sometimes because they put something funny up there and I'm distracted. But in general, using Zoom doesn't have to be a chore, and it really depends on how you set that up. And I think if you approach it using some of those principles and the idea, I will say, you choose whether or not you want to eat on Zoom. Typically, I don't have conversations with people or I'm eating a bowl of soup or something or eating a bowl of cereal. But for some reason on Zoom, we feel disconnected, but we also don't think about the fact that that other people are watching us do that. So I was always told Zoom etiquette, if you're eating something, if you're drinking a cup of coffee, it's not a big deal, but if you're going to eat something, just turn the camera off for a bit and then turn it back on when you're done. I've also been told, and I think it's less of a big deal because people typically aren't getting up for service. But in general, if you're using Zoom and you're in a place where people may have you on a gallery view and they're trying to listen to someone or speak to someone, if you're going to get up and go to the bathroom, if you're going to get up and go answer the phone, you want to be muted. That's typically when you turn your camera off. So if I wanted to, get up, I would stop my camera. I'll be gone. I could get up, I can move around. And when I sat back down, I start the camera again. It's much less distracting to see a camera go out and figure out they're doing something than it is to be like, hey, where's that person going? But they're like, hey, I'm going over here. I'm going over here. You see them around here, and then they're small, and then they're big. And even if they're muted, you just see that your eyes are drawn to that activity. And again, if you're listening to the sermon or something, it's probably helpful to have it in that speaker view. But if you're in a gallery view, then it becomes a distraction for others. I think that's really kind of it in terms of basics. Any questions?
How did you get to that virtual background?
Again, and every interface is different, but mine is under the more. And my guess is it would be under view for you, or right clicking and something that says view. And then when you right click, there may be menus embedded in those that when you click one, it launches another menu.
Nope.
All right. Any other questions?
Jason,
Yeah.
this just for my information, if you're on gallery, is there a finite number of people that can join in a gallery?
No, but depending on your system, there is a finite amount of people that they'll allow you to see. So really, up to a few weeks ago, I only had 9 people on my iPad screen. And then a few weeks ago, they changed it, and all of a sudden I had 12. Or actually even more than that. I think it's like 16. And before that, it was less. So it really depends on the size of your screen. If you're on a phone, sometimes you got to flip back and forth. Like gallery just means, even on a phone, they're going to give you 4 small portraits of it, and you have to flip through them. But it will be limited by your device. And I don't believe there's any way to set like how many people you see. And again, remember, in speaker view, you can sometimes just see speaker, but there's often like a panel on the left or on the bottom or on the right or somewhere that has multiple people. And even that, usually you can scroll through, but that's something that you have to experiment with yourself on your own device.
Jason?
Yeah.
On mine, on more, what does faster and slower mean?
That means that you could actually, if my sermon was really boring and you wanted me to just go faster, you could say faster. I mean, those are new features too, that weren't on it 6 months ago. And to be honest with you, when I saw that, when I was looking at when I was preparing for this, I was like, what is faster and slower? Like, that's kind of rude. But I would get a kick out of it if you did give me a faster one. Oh, look at that. Here's to you. Jim's looking on his phone now.
Yep.
Or he must have been borrowing Glenda's phone, considering the name.
It's his. I take no blame for what he does.
All right, any other questions? So get on a little early when you go to a Zoom call, figure out where those buttons are, figure out where the chat is. And honestly, every time I get on, even when I get on my device, sometimes I'm like, okay, where's everything at? Because they change things. Make sure you have the updated version of it. And really just be intentional about the way you watch a Zoom, the way you engage in a Zoom call. People say that it's exhausting being on them all. And I think sometimes when you turn them off and you're doing something in the background, your mind's going 3 different places, and then you turn them on and you're watching 5 other or more people and their reactions to things. You're constantly, your brain is functioning and processing in a way that it wasn't designed to do. Even if we're sitting in a big circle, you're not looking at everybody kind of at the same time. You're kind of looking at a group of people because you're peripheral, and you're focusing on, or if you're talking to someone, or, you're looking at the back of someone's head in an assembly hall. And the way we view on Zoom and this gallery thing is completely unnatural to the way we have communicated up to this point in our lives. So it requires sometimes some curating to make that not seem so painful. So that's it. That's kind of Zoom 101. let me know if this is something that you just want to get back on the same time next week and just sort of fiddle around as you want. I'm more than happy we can do another round just next week. I probably won't go over the same material, but it can be a space where we can just go over the basics and everyone can try it out again. That's totally fine, because I really think the familiarity with the interface makes it more user friendly. So yeah, and then maybe if I reschedule it, it'll actually allow some of the. I didn't realize. I don't know if that's the problem or if it's your systems, but. And I will say this, there's lots of videos online if you're having trouble. If you type in Zoom and the issue you're having, usually there's a video. There's so many people putting up videos for this sort of stuff. So, but otherwise, let me know and we can do a personal one-on-one session and we can figure this out, because we're probably going to be using this at least for the next 6 months. So, if not longer, in some format. All right.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
good to see you all.
Thank you,
tonight.
Jason.
We'll send you tomorrow at the Bible study, but otherwise, blessings on your week and good luck
Bye-bye.
in your Zooming.
Thank
Happy
you,
Zooming.
Jason.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.